My sister texted at 2 a.m. Mom's not mom anymore. Lock your door and don't come out. I heard footsteps in the hallway. My phone lit up the dark bedroom at 2:07 a.m., with my sister Carla's name flashing across the screen. The text made no sense. Mom's not mom anymore. Lock your door and don't come out. I stared at the words, trying to find rational meaning in them, while my brain struggled through sleep fog. Carla was 19 and prone to drama, but this felt different. Wrong. I typed back asking what she meant, but the message wouldn't deliver. Her phone had gone offline. I sat up in bed listening to the silence of our house, a 2-story colonial where I'd lived my entire 23 years. Nothing sounded unusual. No voices, no movement, just the ambient hum of the air conditioning and the distant bark of a neighbor's dog. Then I heard them. Footsteps in the hallway outside my room. Slow and deliberate, not the quick padding of my mother's usual walk. These steps had weight and purpose, moving past my door toward Carla's room at the end of the hall. I grabbed my phone and tried calling Carla. It rang once, then went to voicemail. My heart was hammering now, adrenaline cutting through the confusion. Something was deeply wrong, and I needed to understand what, before making any moves. I crept to my bedroom door and pressed my ear against it. The footsteps had stopped. Complete silence pressed against my eardrums, making them ring. Then I heard my mother's voice, but it sounded off, flat and rehearsed. Carla, sweetheart, open the door. I need to talk to you about something important. It's about your father. My father had died 6 months ago in a car accident. Mom had been devastated, barely functional for weeks. Carla and I had taken turns managing the household while she grieved, but over the past month, she'd seemed better. Back to work, cooking dinners, acting almost normal. Now her voice through that door sounded nothing like the woman who'd kissed my forehead goodnight 3 hours ago. I heard Carla's door open slightly, the chain lock catching. Mom, what's wrong? Why are you acting weird? My mother's response came without emotion. I'm not acting weird, honey. I just need you to open the door all the way so we can talk properly. That word choice felt wrong. Mom never called us honey. She used our names or sweetheart. Never honey. I heard Carla's voice again, higher now with fear. Mom, your eyes look wrong. Why do your eyes look wrong? The footsteps moved suddenly, fast and aggressive. A crash as someone hit Carla's door hard. Carla screamed, Get away from me! You're not my mother! I threw open my bedroom door without thinking. The hallway light was off, but ambient glow from the bathroom nightlight showed a figure standing outside Carla's room. It was my mother's body, her frame, her clothes. But the way she stood was wrong. Too rigid, like someone playing a character poorly. She turned to face me, and even in the dim light I could see what Carla meant. Her eyes were different. Not the color, but the expression. Empty and calculating. This woman wearing my mother's face looked at me with the cold assessment of a predator evaluating prey. She smiled, and it was the most horrifying thing I'd ever seen. Nathan, good. You're awake. Come help me talk to your sister. The voice matched, but the cadence was off. Too measured, too deliberate, like someone reading from a script. I backed toward my room, every instinct screaming danger. What's wrong with you? What happened? She took a step toward me, her movements smooth and mechanical. Nothing's wrong, sweetheart. I'm your mother. I've always been your mother. Now please help me get Carla to open her door. We need to have a family discussion about your futures. Carla's voice came muffled through her door. Nathan, don't listen to her. She came into my room an hour ago and tried to give me pills. She said they were vitamins, but they smelled like chemicals. When I refused, she got angry. Her whole face changed. That's not Mom. The woman who looked like my mother turned back to Carla's door and slammed her fist against it repeatedly. The violence was shocking. Mom had never been physical, never aggressive. Open this door right now, Carla. I am your mother, and you will obey me. The words came out in a monotone that made my skin crawl. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, but before I could hit call, the woman spun around with inhuman speed and knocked the phone from my hand. It skittered across the hallway floor. She grabbed my wrist with strength that made me gasp in pain. You don't need to call anyone, Nathan. This is a family matter. We handle family matters privately. Her grip was crushing, fingers digging into my wrist bones. I yanked away and stumbled backward into my room. She followed, closing the distance between us. Your father wanted this. Before he died, he made arrangements. You and Carla need to cooperate so we can move forward with the plan. My mind raced, trying to make sense of her words. What plan? What arrangements? Dad had died suddenly in a collision with a drunk driver. There had been no time for deathbed wishes or elaborate plans. What are you talking about? Dad didn't arrange anything. She tilted her head in a way that was fundamentally wrong, too far to one side. Your father knew things. About me. About what needed to happen after he was gone. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept beside my dresser, holding it between us. Stay back. I don't know what's wrong with you, but stay back. She looked at the bat with something close to amusement. You're not going to hit your mother, Nathan. You're a good boy. You've always been such a good, obedient boy. The way she said it made me feel sick, like she was mocking me, using my own nature against me. Behind her, I saw Carla's door crack open. My sister's terrified face appeared in the gap. She was holding her phone, trying to get signal or make a call. The woman noticed my attention shift and spun around, lunging toward Carla's door. Carla slammed it shut just in time, the chain lock catching again. "You can't stay in there forever. This house belongs to me now. Everything belongs to me. Your father signed papers before he died, papers that give me complete control." I heard Carla crying through the door. "Dad wouldn't do that. He loved us. You're lying." The woman laughed, and it was a sound I'd never heard from my mother, cold and cruel. "Your father was a fool who trusted the wrong person." That's when I understood. This was still my mother's body, my mother's face, but something had changed, fundamentally. Whether it was mental illness, a psychotic break, or something I couldn't comprehend, the woman in front of me was dangerous. I needed to get Carla and myself out of this house immediately. I charged forward, swinging the bat not to hit her but to create space. She dodged with reflexes that were too fast, too precise. Her hand shot out and grabbed the bat mid-swing, ripping it from my grip with impossible strength. She threw it aside, and it crashed through my bedroom window, glass shattering onto the lawn below. "Stop fighting me," she said, her voice dropping to something almost inhuman. "This will be easier if you stop fighting." I ran for the stairs, yelling for Carla to barricade herself in. My mother followed, her footsteps heavy and rapid on the carpet. I made it to the first floor and sprinted for the front door. Locked. The deadbolt required a key from the inside, a security feature Dad had installed years ago. I'd never thought it would trap me in. I ran to the kitchen, searching for the key ring Mom kept in the drawer by the sink. My hands shook as I rifled through junk, finding old receipts, rubber bands, batteries, but no keys. Behind me, I heard her descending the stairs, one slow step at a time. "Nathan, you're making this so much harder than it needs to be. I don't want to hurt you. I just need you to take the medicine. Both of you need to take the medicine so we can move forward." I found a knife in the block on the counter and grabbed it, knowing I probably couldn't use it but needing something. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, silhouetted by the hallway light. "Put that down. You know you're not going to use it. You're not violent. You're not your father." The mention of Dad in that context made rage cut through my fear. "Don't talk about him. Whatever you are, you don't get to talk about him." She moved closer, unconcerned by the knife. "I'm what he made me. He thought he could control everything, control me, but he was wrong. And now I control everything. The house, the money, you and Carla." I backed toward the sliding glass door that led to the backyard. It was locked too, but maybe I could break it. She anticipated my move and rushed forward. I threw a chair between us and ran for the garage door. The garage had an automatic opener. If I could get to the car, I could smash through the garage door. The door to the garage was locked. Of course it was. She'd prepared for this, planned for us to be trapped. I turned to face her, and she was right there, inches away. Her hand shot out and grabbed my throat, squeezing. "Enough games, Nathan. You're going to go upstairs. You're going to convince Carla to open her door, and you're both going to take the pills I've prepared. Do you understand?" I couldn't breathe. Black spots appeared in my vision. I dropped the knife and clawed at her hand, but her grip was iron. She wasn't just strong. She was inhumanly strong. "Nod, if you understand." I managed a nod, and she released me. I collapsed to the floor, gasping. "Good boy," she said, that same mocking tone. "Now get up and let's go talk to your sister." I stood on shaking legs, my mind racing for options. Every exit was locked. My phone was upstairs. Carla was trapped in her room. This woman who looked like my mother had planned this carefully, had been planning it for weeks or maybe months. What had she said? That Dad had signed papers? That he'd made arrangements? A memory surfaced. 3 months after Dad's death, Mom had asked me to witness some documents. "Estate papers," she'd said. Something about transferring assets to avoid probate. I'd signed without reading them carefully, trusting her. Had those documents given her legal control? Had I accidentally helped trap us? She pushed me toward the stairs. "Move, and don't try anything stupid. I don't want to hurt you, but I will if necessary. You need to understand that your old life is over. Both of you. After tonight, things will be different. Better." I climbed the stairs slowly, trying to think, trying to find any option that didn't end with Carla and me unconscious or worse from whatever pills she'd prepared. At the top of the stairs, I stopped. "What's in the pills? What are you trying to do to us?" She smiled, that horrible smile again. "Medicine that will help you adjust, help you accept the changes. Your father fought it and look what happened to him. The car accident wasn't an accident, Nathan. I made sure he couldn't interfere with what I needed to do." The confession hit me in the chest. "You killed Dad?" She shrugged. "He was going to expose everything, going to ruin years of work. I couldn't allow that." The brake line was surprisingly easy to cut. He didn't suffer much. Rage exploded through me. I spun and shoved her as hard as I could. She stumbled backward, surprised by the sudden violence. I had seconds. I ran to Carla's door and pounded on it. "Carla, window! Get out the window now!" I heard scrambling inside. The woman recovered and grabbed me from behind, her arm wrapping around my neck in a chokehold. "You shouldn't have done that." She dragged me backward. I drove my elbow into her ribs, but she didn't react. Whatever was wrong with her, pain didn't register normally. I heard Carla's window open, heard her scream my name. "Go!" I yelled. "Run and don't stop!" The chokehold tightened. My vision started going dark. Through the narrowing tunnel of my sight, I saw Carla hesitate at her window, saw the agony on her face at having to choose between helping me and escaping. Go! I managed to gasp out. She disappeared through the window. I heard her land on the porch roof below, heard her scramble down. Then the woman released me, and I collapsed. She stood over me, breathing hard, her face contorted with fury. You let her escape. That complicates things. She pulled a syringe from her pocket, removing the cap with her teeth. I didn't want to do it this way, but you forced my hand. I kicked out, connecting with her knee. She staggered, but didn't fall. I scrambled backward, desperate, and my hand closed around something. The baseball bat. It was lying in the hallway where she'd thrown it earlier. No, wait. That bat had gone through my window. This was Carla's bat, the one she kept in her room for softball practice. Carla must have left her door open when she escaped. I grabbed it and swung with everything I had. The bat connected with the woman's arm, and the syringe flew from her grip, skittering across the floor. She howled in pain and rage. You broke it! You broke my arm! But even with a broken arm, she came at me. I swung again, this time aiming for her legs. The bat hit her knee with a sickening crack, and she went down. I ran past her, down the stairs, and searched frantically for anything to break the front door. A lamp. I grabbed the heavy ceramic base and hurled it at the door's window. Glass exploded outward. I reached through carefully, unlocked the deadbolt, and threw the door open. Carla was on the front lawn, illuminated by streetlights, holding her phone up and screaming into it. He's coming out! My brother's coming out! I stumbled down the porch steps, and she grabbed me, crying. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Behind us, the woman appeared in the doorway, limping badly, her arm hanging at a wrong angle. Even from here, I could see the emptiness in her eyes. This isn't over, she called out. You can't run from what's already been done. The papers are signed. Everything is legal. You belong to me now. The sirens were louder. Red and blue lights appeared at the end of our street. 4 police cars screeched to a stop in front of our house, officers emerging with weapons drawn. Get down on the ground! Hands where we can see them! They were yelling at the woman in the doorway. She didn't comply. Instead, she stepped backward into the house, disappearing into the darkness. 3 officers rushed past us into the house while 2 stayed with Carla and me. Are you injured? Do you need medical attention? I shook my head, though my throat ached from being choked and my entire body trembled with adrenaline. Carla was sobbing, barely coherent. That's not our mom. Something happened to her. She tried to drug us. She said she killed our dad. The officer's expression shifted from professional concern to something harder. He spoke into his radio, calling for more units and detectives. From inside the house, we heard shouting, sounds of struggle, then silence. One of the officers emerged, looking shaken. We need medical and a crisis team. The subject is contained but exhibiting signs of severe psychosis. She's claiming to be someone else. Says the real Beverly Thornton is dead and has been for 2 months. The words made no sense. 2 months? Mom had been acting normal, going to work, cooking dinner, living her life. How could she be dead for 2 months? A detective arrived and separated Carla and me, taking statements. I told him everything, from the text message to the confession about Dad's death. He listened with an expression that grew more grim with each detail. Your father's death was ruled accidental. Are you saying you believe your mother sabotaged his vehicle? I nodded. She admitted it, said she cut his brake line because he was going to expose something. I don't know what. The detective made notes. We'll need to exhume the body, investigate the vehicle if it's still in impound. This changes everything. An ambulance took Carla and me to the hospital for evaluation. My throat was bruised and my wrists had marks from where the woman had grabbed me. Carla was in shock, repeating over and over that our mother's eyes had been wrong. A hospital psychiatrist evaluated us both, asking careful questions about our home life, our mother's behavior, any signs of mental illness. I told him about the grief after Dad's death, the slow return to normalcy, the papers I'd signed. He listened and said something that made my blood run cold. Sometimes trauma can fracture a person's identity. What you're describing sounds consistent with dissociative identity disorder or possibly a complete psychotic break. But some of the details, the premeditation, the physical strength you described, those don't fit standard psychiatric profiles. He left us in the examination room and I heard him talking to someone in the hallway. Fragments of conversation drifted through. Toxicology screen came back unusual. High levels of amphetamines and something else we're still identifying. Could explain the strength and aggression. Hours passed. Police came and went. A social worker arrived and explained that we'd be placed in temporary housing while the investigation continued. We couldn't go home. Our house was a crime scene now. Detective Wilson, the lead investigator, returned around dawn. He looked exhausted and disturbed. I need to show you something. It's going to be difficult, but you need to see it. He led us to a private room and pulled out his tablet. On the screen was security footage from my mother's workplace, a dental office where she'd worked as a hygienist for 15 years. The timestamp showed 3 weeks ago. The footage showed Mom at her desk, talking to someone off camera. Then that someone stepped into frame. It was another woman who looked similar to Mom. Same height, same hair color, same build. They were talking intently. Then the other woman handed Mom a bottle of water. Mom drank it. Within minutes, she was slumping over her desk. The other woman caught her and helped her to a back room, out of camera view. "Who is that?" I asked. Detective Wilson froze the frame. "We're still identifying her. But what's important is what happened next." He showed us more footage. 2 hours later, the other woman emerged from the back room wearing Mom's clothes, her hair styled identically. She sat at Mom's desk and finished out the workday as if nothing had happened. She even interacted with co-workers normally. "Where's our real mother?" Carla asked, her voice breaking. Detective Wilson's expression gave us the answer before his words did. "We found remains in your garage, hidden under the workbench. Preliminary identification suggests it's your mother. She's been dead for approximately 6 weeks." The room spun. Carla made a sound of pure anguish and collapsed. Nurses rushed in. I sat frozen, unable to process what I'd just been told. The woman who'd tucked me in at night, who'd cooked my meals, who'd signed those papers with me, who'd been living in our house for 6 weeks, wasn't my mother. She was someone who'd killed my mother and taken her place. Detective Wilson continued talking, but I could barely hear him over the ringing in my ears. "The woman we arrested is named Patricia Vance. She has a history of identity theft and fraud going back 20 years. She targets grieving families, studies them, finds vulnerabilities. Your father's death created the perfect opportunity. She's been planning this for months, possibly longer." I found my voice. "But why? What did she want?" He showed me more documents on his tablet. The papers I'd signed, the ones I'd thought were estate documents. They weren't probate avoidance, they were adoption papers. "She was trying to legally adopt you and your sister. As adults, it requires consent, which is why she needed your signatures. The drugs she tried to give you would have made you compliant enough to sign more documents, give her access to your father's life insurance, his pension, everything." Carla had been sedated, taken to another room. I sat alone with the detective, trying to understand how this had happened. How did she know about us? How did she plan all this? Detective Wilson pulled up a file. "Patricia Vance was a patient at your mother's dental office 2 years ago. She came in for routine cleaning and apparently became fixated on your mother. Started following her, learning about your family. We found notebooks in her apartment detailing your mother's schedule, your father's routines, everything about your lives. When your father died, she saw her opportunity. I thought about the woman in our house, wearing my mother's face, sleeping in my mother's bed, touching my mother's things. The violation felt absolute. The physical strength you described," Detective Wilson continued, "that was from the amphetamines. She'd been taking massive doses to stay alert, to maintain the deception 24 hours a day. Combined with adrenaline, it gave her capabilities beyond normal human limits." My phone buzzed. Messages from friends asking if I was okay, if the news reports were true. Word was spreading. Our nightmare was becoming public. Over the next weeks, the full scope of Patricia Vance's crimes emerged. She'd killed our mother by suffocation, then kept the body preserved in a storage unit while she perfected her imitation. She'd studied videos of Mom, practiced her voice, her mannerisms, her handwriting. The co-workers at the dental office had noticed small differences, but dismissed them as grief-related changes. No one suspected the woman at Mom's desk wasn't actually her. She'd been sleeping in my parents' bedroom, going through my mother's memories, wearing her clothes. The thought made me physically ill. The investigation into Dad's death was reopened. Forensic examination of his vehicle confirmed the brake line had been cut. Patricia had murdered him too, though establishing the timeline was complicated. Had she been planning to replace Mom even before Dad died? Or had she improvised when he became suspicious? We'd never know for certain because Patricia refused to talk. She sat in her cell silent and unrepentant. The trial happened 8 months later. Carla and I testified about that horrible night, about the woman who'd worn our mother's face. Patricia Vance showed no emotion throughout. The prosecutor presented evidence of 2 murders, identity theft, fraud, and attempted kidnapping. The defense tried to argue insanity, but the premeditation was too clear. Patricia had been in complete control, executing a plan years in the making. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to life without parole. As they led her away, she looked at me and smiled that same horrible smile. "I was so close," she said. "If your sister hadn't been clever enough to text you, I would have succeeded. I would have had everything." Those were the last words she ever spoke to me. Carla and I sold the house. Neither of us could bear to live there. The money went into a trust managed by a lawyer who'd helped us navigate the legal chaos of having both parents murdered. We moved to different cities, needing distance from each other and the memories. The trauma had bonded us, but also made it painful to be together. Every time I looked at Carla, I saw that night, heard her screaming through her locked door. She told me later she felt the same. We text regularly, check in, make sure the other is surviving. But we haven't seen each other in person since the trial. I'm 25 now. I work as a security consultant, helping people protect their homes and families. The irony isn't lost on me. I couldn't protect my own family, but I can help others. Every security system I install, every lock I recommend, I think about that night when every exit was sealed, every door locked against us. I make sure no one else gets trapped that way. I still have nightmares about footsteps in hallways, about familiar faces with wrong expressions. I wake up checking that my doors are unlocked from the inside, that my windows open, that I have multiple escape routes. Dr. Fletcher, my therapist, says the hypervigilance will fade eventually. I don't believe her. Some things change you permanently. Sometimes I wonder if Patricia Vance had other victims, other families she studied and destroyed before finding us. The police investigated but found no evidence. We might have been her first successful murder, or we might have been one of many. I'll never know for certain. What I do know is that evil doesn't always look monstrous. Sometimes it wears familiar faces and speaks in voices you trust. Sometimes it tucks you in at night and kisses your forehead while planning your destruction. Carla texts me every night at 2 a.m. now. Always the same message. I'm okay. You okay? And I always respond, I'm okay. It's our way of confirming we're both still here, still surviving, still fighting to rebuild lives that were shattered by a woman who wanted to steal our identities and our futures. The footsteps in the hallway still echo in my memory, but now when I hear them, I'm ready. I'll always be ready. If you enjoyed this, you'll definitely want to see the next ones too. So, subscribe now and let me know your take in the comments.